Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Boy, do we have a fun show for you today. So, Brother Brand Ambassadors here. I'm Angela Wolf.
Hello, I'm May Flaum, joining you from my studio.
Oh, yes, this is going to be so much fun, May. So, I'm still stuck on your project from last month with those awesome pumpkins. So, I can't even imagine what you're going to put together for this week.
So, this week we're going to play with drawing and cutting, and we're going to play with fall leaves because it feels like it's time.
It is definitely fall. In fact, we went from 80 degrees like 3 days ago, and now I pulled out my velvet out of the closet because it's chilly, which is my favorite time of year too, by the way, May.
We're not quite chilly here. It's getting into the high 50s at night, but it's still getting to the 90s in the daytime. So it's a little weird because in the evening and the early morning, you're like, oh, good, it's chilly. And then by 9 in the morning, you're like, okay, it's summer again. So
and then it's not. So you're gonna do stuff with leaves, which this is a perfect time. I actually just took a trip to Minnesota and then drove there and drove back. 8 hours of the most beautiful leaves changing colors. It's my favorite time of year. And I can't wait to see what you work on this because that's like the big thing right now. If you've missed the color changes, they're coming. They say they're slower in the Midwest, but they're here.
Yeah, here in California, I'm looking out my studio window and it's just green. So it's not happening yet, but I like to get ahead of, I like to make the fall leaves change colors in my studio because that I can control. I don't control what's out there, but I can control what's in here. So today what we're going to do, I'm going to use a standard mat, but it really is up to you if you use standard or low tack and what materials you're doing. I'm going to use a standard mat and we're going to do a couple different things actually. So we're going to start... I'm going to do a couple of different materials. So the ScanNCut has built-in leaves, but of course you can always add different patterns as well. You can always go and either purchase or design or download patterns too. So I've got a bunch of different materials here. And the first one I want to do is I'm going to just pick let's see, we're going to pick this paper. So I just got a piece of paper that's got like a bunch of different little squares on it that I think would be fun because it's kind of fall leaf changing colors. Okay, and then we're just going to go up and we're going to find our leaves. And our leaves are up here. It's snowflakes and flowers. I know sometimes that can be tricky to remember. And then it's up to you what leaves you want. I'm going to just pick a few, and I'm not going to size them yet. Okay, so I'm just going to set that in there. And then I'm going to go into add. We're going to go to pattern. And we're going to go back in. So let's see, it's there and then there. And I'm going to pick a different leaf. So I'm only going to pick one of each. Whichever leaves I want to do, I'm only going to pick one of each. We don't need to pick a bunch. And I'm just going to, so you're just going to repeat this for however many different leaves you would like. And this machine has a whole bunch of different leaves, which is really nice. But, it's up to you. And I think there's even, like if you want that like mapley leaf, you can get that one. So we've got lots of different options here. I think I'm going to do this one. Okay, so I just have 3 leaves, and then I'm going to scan the mat. So this is one of my favorite features of the ScanNCut is that the built-in scanner means that not only do we get to scan and make our own cut files, cut around stamps, which we will cut around a stamp a little later, but we also can use it to scan the mat so that we can see the material, so that we can see what's on there, what the pattern looks like. And so we can see when we go to use our leaves, what is that going to look like? What is that going to, what parts of the design are going to be captured there? So now, and this is why I did not do any kind of editing yet. So now when we go into edit, the first thing I'm going to do is adjust the size. So this one I'm going to want real small. Well, not quite that small, probably about there. And we're going to make all of these fairly small because I think I'm going to end up making a card here. So I want them to be sized a little smaller. But remember, we can do multiple sizes. We can also do multiple leaves. So I can pick out whoever I want. Let's say I want that one, object, edit, and then right here if I want more of them. Okay, so that's a real easy way and quick way to multiply how many of a pattern you have. And then we can move them around. We can also now go in and individually, if you want to size up and down. And that's something I like to do just a little bit before I get too into the process of actually sorting everything out, is I like to size a few up, size a few down, to have some variety, because I always have different projects, right? We can put these on the table, like for Thanksgiving. We can do lots of different things with these leaves. We don't just have to do one project, scrapbooking, card making. There's lots of different things. So now I'm in edit and I'm just going to rotate some of them. And some of them I might rotate all the way. Let's see, let's rotate you there. So the reason I'm rotating.
Hey, May, is there any way that, because that's a really cool print, but is there any way to lighten that up a little bit just because it's really hard to see the leaves on there?
Oh, how could we lighten that up? So let me show you. You know what I'll do is I'll rescan it. So that's a good point. And if you're having trouble with it where you're trying to position things and you can't see, if you rescan it, so I just put some white paper down.
Mm-hmm.
So if I rescan it with the white paper, then it'll get rid of our previous bold color designs there. So let's see. And maybe if I scoot you guys down, let's see if that helps.
There we go. Yeah, because, you know, I was watching and I was thinking, okay, I can kind of see, but not really. So that's great.
There we go. Okay, so when we're in edit, we're just rotating some of them. And the reason I'm rotating some of them is just so that because it's on like a very square design, rotating some of them around is just going to give us different sections or different pieces. So instead of having it be all in the same direction, this is going to make it mix and match so that it's some are going in different directions and everybody's a little funky. I'm just going to pull everybody in here. And the other thing you can do here, and this is, I'm famous for this, and in fact, we're going to do it right now. If you go in here and right here, the garbage can, if you do too many, you know, if you go, okay, I don't actually need this many. I went a little too far here. Well, you can just click through and delete if you went, okay, too much, too far, if you want to get rid of a few. Okay, so, but we're good with that. So I'm just going to press my paper back onto my mat here. And we're going to say, okay. And we're going to select cut. And it's showing us where that'll be. Half cut is turned off because we want it to cut all the way through. And it's just going to take, I think it says 2 minutes here. So it's going to cut through. Now, the other things that we're going to do, I have watercolor paper here. I also have some mulberry paper. And I even have some clear, like plastic sheeting material. So there's lots of different materials we can cut out of this. And there's lots of different things we can do there. And what I like about this is if we set all of our leaf patterns and we want to go ahead and get all of our leaves cut, what we're going to be able to do, oh, and let me move, I was just going to say, let me move my camera back up there. That's the That's the live problem, right? We get the camera just right that it's in our face.
Your camera guy is okay. You're doing great.
So the thing I like about this is I'm having it cut out of this paper, and the auto blade is measuring and it's cutting appropriately, and it's going to be just so. But then I can put a totally different material down, and it will feel the material, measure itself, and cut the next material. So we've got that cut out. And got our little leaves. So what I like about this, because we are, I don't know about you, Angela, but I'm starting to get like the holiday gift making, and the busyness of the season is starting to creep up.
Don't say that, May. In fact, I usually don't even think about it until you're on here and you have such cute projects. So
so you see how like the different like the way the direction of all the little squares is different, because I went and took that time to move things around. And now what I'm going to do, and we talked about how you can just go in and you can delete some. So I'm going to delete a few more, just because we don't need so many out of the mulberry paper. A few more delete. Let's see, you can go up there, and no, we'll get rid of you. Okay, so now I can go back in. So you see how quick it is now that I have it set up. I don't have to go and redo anything. It's just going to really work well. I'm just pressing my paper down nicely there. It's just going to work really well to cut more. As long as you're in here, as long as you have everything set up, keep cutting. Save yourself the time and keep cutting. And this is, we're doing fall leaves, but this could be, I mean, if you were getting ready for a birthday party, if you were doing, I know the dreaded thing to say, but if you were starting to make Christmas cards, whatever you were doing, you can go ahead and do it right here. And then as soon as this is done cutting, we're actually going to mix things up a little bit. So we're going to be taking, this is the universal pen holder. And the way that it works, the pen goes in there and you use this to measure how far in the pen should go. And then you tighten it, which we will do. Okay, so now I've got to see, I'm getting like my depth of color, because fall colors to me, it's just my favorite. I love all of those colors, and now we're getting them all the textures. So now I've got watercolor paper. And with the watercolor paper, I actually will grab a little roll of washi tape, because the watercolor paper is so heavy. And sometimes the very front edge wants to kind of lift up. And you know what? I don't need any problems. I don't need anything to be lifting up or causing me any problems. So I just put a little bit of masking tape or washi tape right along, usually the top edge and maybe a little bit on the side. And that's just going to make sure that everything cooperates for us. And then I'm going to pick a color. And I'm going to use some watercolor pens, but you could use any kind of pen at all. In fact, I'll show you with like a regular black pen. And then over here, we're taking the blade out. And the nice thing about the ScanNCuts, I think one of the nice things is all of the accessories, it's always the same. It's always a similar shape, and you just pop the lever up, pop the lever down to get them in and out. Okay. And we still don't have to change anything. We're just going to select draw instead of cut and start. So this is a brush pen, so it's going to make a little thicker, a little messier line when it does this. And that's okay. That's what I want. So remember that when you're choosing your pen, if you're choosing, like say that's a very fine, sharp tip pen, you're going to get a different result than if you pick a brush tip pen or something really wide. It's going to be a little different. So it's already done.
Wow.
So since it's already done, now what we're going to do, first I'm going to look around. There we go. Find the lid. Then watch this. I'm going to select cut. So I'm not moving anything. So now it's going to, oh, you see how it says attach? Wait, yeah, I don't have the blade in there. So I love that too. It always prompts me, excuse me, you're not ready, lady. You didn't do the right thing. You're not all set. You're not ready. Get yourself together. It gives you a reminder.
May, just to be clear, you actually took all of the those designs, you drew it, and now you're cutting. Did you change anything about the designs at all?
Nothing moved, nothing changed.
Okay.
So I drew them and now I'm cutting them.
And while that's happening, just to go back to your pen holder, because I know a lot of people watching that maybe haven't used their ScanNCut much or don't realize that there are extra accessories. That's the universal pen holder, which is different than just the regular pen holder that comes with the machine, which comes with many of them, maybe not all of them. But this one, you can use any pen in.
Yeah, so any pen that will fit in there, you can use. So maybe sometimes it'll be watercolor. Sometimes I would want waterproof. Sometimes I would want like a scrapbooking journaling pen. There's lots of different pen types that you can use. So what you're going to see is it's just barely on the edges.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I just like to do that because I like to get a little start there. And I'm going to show you one more thing we can do here with the pen that's pretty cool. So we can do the pen and we'll pick a different color this time. We'll pick kind of a fall looking color.
And, you know, I have to just mention it, for anybody who maybe is new to watching these shows with you, May, you have so many of these on the Brother channel. If you want to learn about watercoloring with pens and the ScanNCut, May is like the queen of that. And I can think of at least a dozen videos that you did in the past couple years.
Oh yeah, and there's always something new and fun to do with it. And what I really like about it is it doesn't take much time, and it's super user friendly. You know, it's not gonna be hard. It's not gonna be difficult. So we're just gonna go ahead and cancel. We're done, or close out our leaves. We're done with our leaves. We're going to go pick something different. Let's see. I think it's in here. Nope, wrong one. If you hit the wrong one, you just hit a different one. Okay, so this is what I wanted. It should be pretty easy to find the one I was looking for here. There's so many pretty patterns. There it is. Okay. No, I think that might be too big. So if you go to it and you think, oh, I think that's too big, remember you can always just go into edit and change its size. Okay. And then I'm going to move it down a bit. And we're going to do a similar thing. Oop, except that we're going to do draw, not cut, May. Okay, there we go. So we're going to draw a different leaf. This one's a little fancier. It's got a little more design to it. And this will be fun. And if you're wondering, well, why would I want watercolor pen on watercolor paper and then cut it out? Well, that's our next step. But I'm really big on, let's go ahead and do batches of things. Let's go ahead and get all of the things handled together. While we're in one place, let's get all of that. Let's be efficient. Let's get all of that going. So again, that's the universal pen tool. And we're not moving anything here because we're going to do the exact same thing where we're going to change it to cut. So by not moving anything, and we're going to put our blade back in. By not moving anything, what that does is just...
Sorry, what blade are you using? Just out of curiosity.
Just the regular, it's always just the regular blade. So it's an auto blade, which means, there it goes. It's testing the depth or checking the mat, and then it's going to test the material to see, okay, how thick is this? What am I doing here? And then once it's determined that, it goes ahead and cuts. So it's just going to cut around all those lines that we just drew. It's just going to be a little different leaf, little fancier leaf. And you could do this where you draw and then cut. You could do it on patterned papers. You could do it on all kinds of stuff. It's just kind of a fun trick to save a lot of time. You've drawn and then you can cut without changing anything. Love it. And it's almost done. Yep, there we go. There goes the outline. Okay. Whoop. Okay, so it thought it might want a second round, but I could see visually that everything cut out. So if it does that where it thinks it wants a second round, but you know it's fine, my recommendation is just go ahead and pause it or tell it, no, thank you. When I hit cancel, I usually say, no, thank you, ScanNCut. No, thank you. I've got this from here, but thanks for the help. Okay, so we've got our leaves.
Oh wait, let me see that last one you just did. That looks really cool. Can we see that one again? That last one that you just drew?
So let me move that out of the way. So that guy, and you can see, remember I said when you have the brush pen,
wow.
The brush pens are, and if you're ever thinking, like I've gotten asked this before, like, okay, but when I go to draw, instead of, you know, a nice neat line, like something like that, when I draw, it's sometimes, you know, going more like that where it's not even.
Oh, yeah.
It's the brush tip, because the brush tip has a very fine point, but if there's more pressure on a brush tip, it'll get thicker. So that's all it is. That's all you're doing, is because it's a brush pen versus just a really nice finer tip pen. So we'll set our paper to the side here. So now what we can do, so we've got all of our patterns and our little mulberries. Those are fun. So now I'm going to show you why in the world did we do the others. Oh, and it would help if I saw a water pen. Well, we'll start without the water pen, and then I'll figure out. I'm looking around to figure out what did I do with that water pen.
I know.
There's a bunch of them in there. There's a bunch of them in here. I'm just like looking around, going, okay, where did I set you?
You're here. I Spy. We'll all look over your studio. We'll find it for you.
Oh, I wish you could, but I think it's behind the computer. I think it's on the back side today, so I'll have to grab that in a second. But what you can do, because these are watercolor pens, and there's lots of different products. You can use watercolor pencils. You could also use something that's waterproof. If you use something that's waterproof, then it would not smear or blend at all. And all your blending would be done with whatever colors, whether you're using like a regular watercolor palette or, I don't know, whatever products you've got. There's so many out there. Absolutely anything. I always say, you know, anything will work. It will all work, just depending on what you want and what kind of a look you're trying to go for. And I'm just using the pens to blend with each other. Just getting kind of like real funky. And because I had that draw to begin with, it just gave me a nice base of color to start with. So there was already some color there to blend with, to work with. Isn't that fun?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So super easy. I love this particular leaf, and I always forget about it. And then each fall I rediscover it, and it becomes my favorite all over again. And it's up to you. You can really do, like, you can do more single colors. You can do some that have lots and lots of colors. It's just really, what do you want to do? And I like that the ScanNCut does all the hard part, the part I don't want to do. I don't want to sit and cut. That's never my favorite of any project. I remember I have been at this long enough that I have done my years of fussy cutting. And I am happy to never fussy cut again. That would be just fine with me. So we can do different colors.
Oh, that's so much fun.
The thing that's fun about these two is you can kind of, if you're newer to watercolor, or, you know, you're just kind of learning coloring in general, I think that it's really fun with these kind of little cuts from the ScanNCut. I think it's really fun to play with these because there's no risk. You know, if you really hate it, you can just toss it. You know, it's not like you're just working on an individual leaf here. You know, if you don't like it, you don't like it, move on. There's very low stakes. So I'm a really big fan of that. And it's kind of looking like we don't really necessarily need my water pen, but I think I see it. So I'm going to grab it. Aha, there you are.
We knew you'd find it.
Trying to hide. No such luck. There we go. So yeah, we can do lots of colors, few colors, lots of variety, no variety. I mean, whatever you like. And I'll just do one more of these and then we'll move on to doing something a little different here. And the water brush, if you don't know, it's a paintbrush that has a area that you put water in. And then as you squeeze it, the water comes out and it allows for blending.
I love that. I bought one of those because of you, May. And although I haven't used it yet, I ended up, you know what I ended up grabbing is just a paintbrush because I had one sitting right here from dyeing fabrics. I just did a little paintbrush and added a little water. Yours is much better.
So paintbrush and water is honestly, that's if you're going to do the same exact thing. The only difference is just the convenience of not having to have open water. Yeah. That's what it is for me. I famously knock open water containers over. So for me, having the convenience of, and here's a little bit of water that's self-contained that you can't knock over, that you can't cause problems with. That's the benefit for me with having a water brush here in the studio is it stops the big messes before they happen. And if you want one to be real pale, you can just take the water brush without any colors at all. And there we go. And you can see now they go with, you know, it all goes. So if you wanted to just do, you know, you just want to cut pattern papers or fabrics or whatever and skip the coloring, you certainly could. Or if you want to get really super custom, well, we've got that too. Just depends on what you feel like doing. I'm going to give this guy a little bit of, the water just kind of helps soften and blend everybody. So now that we've got that, now I've got to organize my little mess here. Now that we've got that, we'll set everybody off to the side. And sometimes we have to take a moment to tidy up here. And we're going to just wipe down with a wipe here, just wipe it down. And that's a lesson I think anybody who's played with color mediums know, get the color medium off your table. Don't let it sit there, because what's going to happen is you're going to come by later and have something that has a little bit of moisture and it kind of reactivates. And then you've got whatever color was there on whatever new project you're trying to make, which isn't the most fun. Okay, so we're still going to use our trusty watercolor. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab some orange dye ink. It could be anything, any kind of ink you got. And I'm just going to put some different, I think it'd be fun to have a few different shades of orange. So I've got 3 different oranges here. And then I'm going to stamp it as much in the middle of this as I can. And it's very, very, very pale, and that's fine. So we have our very pale thanks. And the thing I like about stamping and doing cards and things in this way is if this doesn't work, if I don't like it, I haven't ruined any kind of project. I just have it on paper. If it doesn't work, I just get a new piece of paper. I haven't committed to a complete project. So there's no catastrophe going to happen. There's nothing bad going to happen here. No risk, right? Very big fan of things that remove risk or that remove user error problems. That's also a big one for me. So I'm putting a little bit of, so this is a pretty old standard mat. So watercolor paper is very heavy and it likes to curdle, especially when I've been doing stuff to it already. So I just like to take a little bit of that tape because, especially for like these heavier materials, I don't necessarily want to get a brand new mat and start a brand new mat just for a heavy material that's still going to probably need some tacking down no matter what. So here, I'm going to bring this back down since that works good for the, there we go. Bring that one back down. So we're going to start all the way over and we're going to pick a basic shape. I want an oval. I love the basic shapes, and I always say, don't forget about the basics because, oh wait, I want this one. There it is. Oop. There it is. Okay. And I'm just going to leave it where it is, and we're going to scan the mat.
It's so quiet, May. It really is.
I love how quiet this is. And then we're going to pull this over here.
Oh.
So we can see where our stamp is. And now we can change the size. So let's see. It's 4 wide, so we can make it a little bigger. I'm thinking 4.5 maybe.
So May, for somebody maybe, I love that all these designs are built in, which makes it so much easier for everyone. But if somebody doesn't have a stamp for thanks, they could just use letters in the ScanNCut too to just draw.
You could. You could also print out onto paper.
There you go.
So you could be on your computer, have a font you like, print it out.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's another one. You could do letter stickers, letter stamps, word stamps. Yeah, whatever you've got, because you can scan your letter stickers in just the exact same way. That's a really good point because there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Okay, so now we're going to cut out around this. I just love how there's so many different ways we can use the features of the machine. And I'm just going to pull this up a little again. So many different ways we can use all the different features of this machine, and you never run out.
Right.
I was actually just talking to somebody about how however many years, since the original ScanNCut, and I'm still coming up with ideas. I'm still coming up with different ways, different things I want to do and try. And it just will follow you through whatever it is you're creating. So now we have thanks. And now we get the real fun part here. So this could be all of the things we made. You could make any project you want, right? And sometimes for seasonal stuff, like around Valentine's Day, I do more hearts. In the spring, I do more flowers. Remember that whatever you've got, you can always have extra around. Like this is one from a past project, and it's actually my only extra leaf right now, which I'm surprised, but you can just have extras and you can use them if you want on whatever is the next project coming. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a card. So I just have a basic 4 1/4 by 5.5 card here. And it would look pretty darn plain like this, but we've got all our leaves ready. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of tape, and whatever you have is fine. This happens to just be double-sided tape. Double-sided tape is fine. If you have foam adhesive, if you have tape runner, whatever you've got, that's just fine. You're just trying to get something to glue down your piece. Now, if I want to, I could also do something with those same pens that we used all the colors. You can use a brush pen. And it won't look like much of anything when you're doing it unless you really go for it and try to get a lot on the front, which I'm not trying to do. But if you want to do something like this, If you've ever got a project that's kind of lacking in contrast, and I know, I would assume a lot of the sewing projects you can have that problem too, right? Where it needs just like a pop of contrast.
Oh, yes.
So this is oftentimes something that works well in paper crafts, is to get a pen or an ink pad and edge the edges of one of the parts. So by just running a little bit of ink there, we're just getting just the hint of color. And if you oopsie like that, that's okay. Don't worry about it for a couple reasons. Number one, if it's watercolory, we can kind of blur it out, we can blur it a bit. But also, as you'll see, it's going to cover up anyway. So it's fine either way. Remember, we can always fix mistakes. So then I'm just going to place this, and I'm going to place it a little down onto one side. And now we really get to have some fun, because now we're going to find which leaves we like where. And this is why I said, don't worry about it, because we're just going to immediately cover it right up. So as I said before, I'm just using some double-sided tape today, but you could use liquid adhesive will work. That would be just fine. Most anything I ever make is pretty flexible on precise supplies. So we can tuck some of them under. And this is going to be the hard part, is deciding which ones do we want. They're all so fun. And this is something I really love about cutting a bunch of shapes out with the ScanNCut, is you end up with all of these different pieces, and then you really do get to play and be creative with, well, what am I, how am I positioning this? How am I going to make this? What am I going to do here? You really get to play. And I think that's, for me, that's the most fun, is it gets right to it and lets us have all the fun.
May, you're just putting double-sided tape. You could use glue. Would that work too? Or
yes, any kind of liquid adhesive or double-sided tape or tape runner or whatever you've got. I've been trying to use my stash, and I have a lot of double-sided tape that I never use. So this week has been really big on double-sided tape here in the studio, because I'm really a big fan of, use the supplies you have. Use what you've got on hand. And in fact, that's going to be my next challenge, is I'm going to make the dogs Halloween costumes, and I have to figure out how to do it with what's already in this room. So I've been doing that a lot with myself to get my stuff used, to get things, utilized and get things going, is doing that. So let's see. I think one or two more. It's so much fun. You can just sit here and play with the leaves and the different colors. And I think I like that one. Yeah, whatever adhesive you've got, whatever's on hand, whatever works for you, whatever's convenient will work. And you can see how the leaves are adding some nice contrast too. Let's see, we've got this guy. Put this one down here. I feel like I could go all day long adding little leaves. This would be a fun one to add stitching to, if you wanted to add stitching. That's always a favorite of mine. And we need a little more, loosen up a little more of my double-sided tape here. Let's see. So we've got the mix. You can see how they all kind of come together. The different materials, different colors. And I find that if I just kind of play loosely with things and let things kind of take their own shape, a lot of times I'll get a really cool result that I didn't expect, or I don't know, something that I think I wouldn't have thought of on my own, but it happened in this way, so it worked out, which I always think is really fun, because it really lets you have, I don't know, more of a chance to play and more of a chance to try new things, which I know it can be a little scary, right? It can be a little intimidating. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing. But the reality is, especially with something low risk like a card, just having some fun and playing with some
That's cute,
paper
May.
and goodies. Isn't that fun? So I feel like we're gonna have to add a few little buttons here because we just are. So let me grab, I'm thinking orange.
I love when you say low risk like a card. Like worst case, it turns out bad and you toss it out. But that's super cute. If you don't like it, just keep adding more stuff to it too.
Yes, and that's something else that I like about something like this where we're designing, where we have a lot of little pieces. If you don't like one of the pieces, don't use it, but it'll work on something else.
Right.
If you don't like the one piece, that's okay, because guess what? It's totally going to work on the next project. Okay. So we'll put a few, and remember I said don't worry about messing up. You'd never know that I had messed that up if you hadn't seen me do it.
You're right.
Got my little, I think
so. May I have this huge jar, and maybe think of you, of random buttons that either fell off of something, or maybe, you get a shirt and it comes with a couple buttons that I've never needed. Or every once in a while, a friend of mine would go to garage sales and she'd bring me these bins of buttons. I'm like, what am I going to do with these? Well, ever since I've been watching you add these buttons all over paper crafts, it's such a great idea. So my bin is being used because of you.
Oh, I love that. And you know what? It's a lot of the buttons that are in my little button bin. Some of these are, like this one is probably from my grandma's stash that I ended up inheriting. They're not all like purchased. I don't necessarily purchase buttons with the intent to craft. So now the buttons I would do liquid adhesive. The buttons I don't think I would try. And actually that guy's too big. Okay. So if that happens and you think you've got it, but it's too big, just set it aside and dry it off. You'll be all right. I promise you'll be all right. The glue will go away and you can save the button for a different time if you think. Like I got a little excited there about a big button and it was a little too big. That's all right. Get the next one. Let's see, we'll put this guy here. It's just so much fun to play with, and it's a great way, like I've got little sequins in here too. So it's a great way to get supplies used. And you know what? People love a card. People love getting a card in the mail. There's not many of those these days. So if you can sit down and play
a card that's this cute, I would totally save. I save a lot of cards anyways, like cards from my grandma and my mom, things like that are just something special to hold on to. But something this cute, I would totally keep.
Yeah, I think and you know what? Think about how rare it is to get a card in the mail. So it's nice when you get one.
Just note that this one with the extra buttons and the extra thickness, you might have to put 2 stamps on it because it doesn't.
Yes. Yes, that is one thing. So if you're trying to avoid the extra postage, if you're trying to avoid having that be an issue, then your choice would be, personally, then I just reach for like the little sequins, because the little sequins they'll add color and they'll add a little pop of fun, but it won't add any expense or weight. And if you don't want to do that, if you're like, well, okay, but I really don't want to do that, I really want like all the button fun, then 2 different things I'll do is either I'll put like a piece of cardboard or chipboard or something in the envelope and put it in a padded envelope so that it's really nicely protected.
Oh, that's
or I just will mail these kinds of cards out when it's a gift, when there's a gift with it, so that it's going into a package, so then I don't even have to think about, well, what am I going to do? Because I went and made a lumpy card again. I usually save these when I have a gift to send.
A lumpy card. Here's your lumpy card. Happy birthday.
I had someone leave a comment years ago about how my cards were lumpy, and I just loved it. I thought it was the funniest thing, like the funniest way of thinking about it. Because I guess it is. Yeah, it's a little lumpy. Okay. So I've got some little seed beads here that I can get on there. And you can just keep, I mean, we can just keep going all day, honestly. There's
That's
so much fun
so
stuff we can play
fun.
with. And if you wanted to, you could add some hand stitching in there. You could add, I mean, you can add whatever you like. And what do you have? That's what something I always think about is what do you have? What is there where you are? What do you got a lot of that you should use or want to use? Or that you keep saving, but you know you shouldn't save it. You know you should get it out there and get it used up. That's what I've been doing, especially with my fabric over on this side, is there's just too much of it and it's all full. All the bins are full. So it's time to force myself to use the cute fabric that I had to have, but then couldn't commit to projects.
Oh, that's funny. What a cute project. I absolutely love it. Love it. So another great thing for the, hold that up one more time. Let me just get you up here closer. There you go. Yeah, that's
too bright.
We'll bring it up to this one. Yeah. Yeah, that's so cute. So cute. Again, something that, you know, that you can keep when you give it. I like the idea of throwing it in with a gift though, because I'm always shipping gifts to my brothers and sisters and their kids. And usually I'm just like grabbing a card. Now, by the way, that card right there would be so expensive if you bought it in a store. You couldn't even find anything that cute. But I think I paid like $8 for a simple card when you just, how much fun to make a bunch of those together. Like you said, cut a bunch of leaves, get them all ready to go. And you've got a bunch of cards ready to go. I think that's a great idea, May.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you know what? With especially like any part of this, like the thanks, like the sentiment, we were talking about what if you don't have a stamp? Well, if you printed it off the computer, if you just made sure to like use a quarter piece of paper area for each one, you could then scan that in and you could batch. Instead of cutting one, we could cut 4 or 6 or whatever it is you have. And you could cut a bunch and they can all be, I know that's something I get asked a lot about. Well, what about, I want to make it unique. I don't want to make it seem like it was mass produced. Well, each one can be different. You could do different colors. You could do different arrangements, different stylings. And if you get one, my biggest suggestion, if you get one and you love it and you're just totally in love with how it turned out, take a picture of it, put it in your idea journal, save a picture or a sketch of it so that when you're stuck and trying to think of a good design, you go back to the one you already made.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Well, by the way, anyone who's making these beautiful cards, don't forget, look above, use hashtag Brother ScanNCut. Maybe you're adding some sewing to it. Add hashtag Brother Sews too, because number one, Brother loves to see what you're working on. May does too. So do I. And that way we can check it out. So May, I have your website down below for anyone who maybe doesn't know where to find you. You've got some great content on your YouTube channel. Anything exciting you're working on or any new videos you got coming out?
So what I'm working on now, I actually really like to be done with holidays and gift making by like November 10th.
Oh, you're so good.
Well, I like to do it, and I'll tell you why, because it's a really good time December's a really good time for me to like have more me time, have more quiet time, because everybody else is so busy and everybody else is running all around. So I try to do my running around early so that I can be a little more relaxed, a little more, you know, just kind of have a quiet month there, or quieter, I should say. So I'm working on, as I come up with gift ideas, or gift wrap ideas, handmade presents, I'm filming them. So they are going to start showing up very soon, because I know we crafters, we need a little more time. It can't be December 20th and we're starting. Well, it can be. It can be, but we like to be early.
That's so true. Although December 20th, welcome to my world. That seems to be what I'm always panicking and getting everything finished. But I'm learning from you, May. Start early. All right. So there's the websites below. You got brothersews.com. They've got a ton of great content on there. 2 blogs to get a lot of things on. Free design of the month for embroidery. You can find your local brother dealer if you're looking for a ScanNCut and all those things. So May, I can hardly wait to see you next month to see what you got in your crafting corner.
I know we'll always have fun. I always love meeting up like this every month. It's so much fun.
We always have fun. So thanks you everyone for watching. Brother Sews, thanks for letting us take over your page. Brother Sewing and Crafting, I should say, since we're on the crafting side this week. And we'll look forward to seeing you again Say hi, say hi again. We love to see your comments. And even if you're watching the replay, the social team will be in there answering for you. So May, have a great day and thank you again.
Thanks. See you next time.